Welcome to Wilderness Inquiry's Costa Rica Hike and Explore info session. I'm Shannon. I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager for Wilderness Inquiry, and I'm really excited to have a beautiful evening talking about Costa Rica with the wonderful Cory Maria Dack, who's been leading these trips for years. As you may have seen on the website, we are running two Costa Rica trips early next year. So both still have spots available. So whichever one works for you, we would love to have you join us. And I will resend these dates at the end of the presentation as well. I wanted to share a little testimony from one of our past participants to give you a little teaser of what you might walk away with if you go on this Costa Rica trip. So, Peggy from a few years ago said that hiking in the jungle and hearing the many birds and other wildlife, zip lining, swimming in the very warm Pacific, seeing dolphins and whales, and enjoying my trip mates made my experience extraordinary. And we got that wonderful photo of folks swimming in the waterfall there. Then I will hand it over to Cory Maria.
Hi, everybody. I'm Cory Maria Dack. I'll do some descriptors of the photos. On the left, there's a photo of me holding a little butterfly in Costa Rica. And on the right, there's a photo of me standing in front of a waterfall. And these are all things that hopefully we will get to do together. I've been working for Wilderness Inquiry since 2008. I've been guiding and working in this field since 2004. And I've been leading the Costa Rica trips, several every single year since 2018. It's one of my favorite trips that we run at WI. I love it, and I would love to take you all there. So this is one of our beautiful overlooks just above an overlook looking at like the town of Jaco is how you actually pronounce it in Spanish. The silent J, how we think of it as being silent. And this is one of my groups that I had early on. Well, I think, well, maybe a more recent year, actually, that group. So there's a lot of activities that we offer on the Costa Rica trips. One is zip lining, which is really cool because you get to zip line through the rainforest. Um, a thing that I think is super cool about this trip is that we spend time in the rainforest and the cloud forest. And so out of all the forests in the world, I think it's less than 5% of all the forests in the world are considered rainforests. And then out of all the rainforests in the world, less than 5% of those are considered cloud forests. And so we do get to spend time in a cloud forest as well. Cloud forest, as you might imagine, means that the plants and the animals, the flora, the fauna, they actually get most of their water from the clouds. And so there's these bromeliads everywhere. Like think about the top of a pineapple and they collect and they fill with water. And that's where a lot of the insects and the plants and the animals get their water. But this is a picture of someone zip lining through the rainforest canopy. It's a really cool way to kind of pretend you're a toucan as well. Go ahead. So there we are. I'm with my friend Kaylin, who works at the office at Wilderness Inquiry. And on the right, there's a group photo, me blinking my eyes. And we're actually high up in a tree. It's called the top platform. And we're getting ready to zip across the rainforest. And it's really nice. It's really like hot and muggy in the rainforest, as you can imagine. So it's also kind of nice and cooling to pretend you're a little bird flying through the air. We'll go hiking and see some giant trees. On the left, there's a group of people leaning against a tree. And I think if all of those people held hands and tried to hug around the tree, they wouldn't be able to wrap all the way around it. So we hear about lots of giant trees in the US, like the sequoias and the redwood woods, and those are amazing. But big trees like that also exist in Costa Rica. And on the right, when we go to the ocean portion of Costa Rica, we actually take about a 2 hour boat ride. We go on the Sierpe River and we wind through the largest forest of mangroves in Central America for about an hour, a little over an hour. And then you get to the ocean. And as you approach the ocean, before you can even like really see it, because you're still on this beautiful winding river, you can taste it. You can taste the salt in your mouth. And then you get on the ocean, and it's really a picturesque kind of tropical paradise that you would think of. I always tell people, I'm like, we're in Jurassic Park. And I like to sing the theme song to Jurassic Park. And then for about an hour, a little less, you travel along the coastline until we get to our destination, a beautiful place called Poor Man's Paradise. And it is a poor man's paradise. Um, it's owned by the Amaya family. So they're actual Costa Ricans. They're actually Ticos. You say Tico or Tica instead of saying Costa Rican. That's what you say in Spanish is Tico. And it's a Tico family. So this is Poor Man's Paradise. As you can see, it is very paradisal. Is that a word? It's a word now. I've declared it a word. It's just really gorgeous. To get to Poor Man's Paradise, they usually drop you off at the end of this beach, and then it's about a 15-minute walk on the sand till you get to where our lodging is. It's really beautiful. It's just this very like turquoise blue ocean and tall palm trees. It's kind of like the sort of situation you would draw as a little kid if they're like, draw something tropical. This is kind of what we get to see and experience. This is another photo of us walking. We call it the bus stop. We're walking to the bus stop. As you can see, we're walking along the beach. The ocean is kind of the waves, the tide is coming in, sort of nipping at our heels. And we're walking down to the far end of the beach where we're going to get on a boat that will probably take us hiking or snorkeling for the day. Rainbow eucalyptus trees. This is not painted. This is what these trees really look like. It's a beautiful tall tree with the bark kind of peels off. It's interesting to touch and feel as well. The bark kind of peels off and strips and reveals a rainbow-esque color underneath. I see green, I see pink, I see yellow, I see orange. And the first time I saw that, I asked someone, this is at the coffee farm that we go and we visit. I asked someone, I was like, is this, you didn't paint these trees? They're like, no, they laughed at me. They're like, that's a rainbow eucalyptus tree. So it's really what they look like. We'll get to go snorkeling at Cano Island. Here is a photo that I did not take, but of a big, beautiful sea turtle underwater with a school of fish above it. Really, really beautiful. Hopefully we'll get to see sea turtles while we snorkel, maybe on the boat ride out to Cano Island. I've seen whales before. I've seen dolphins before. You never know if you're going to see them or not. We always cross our fingers. I say, por favor, Pachamama, Mother Earth, will you show us a whale? Sometimes she do, which is amazing. I definitely have taken a lot of people in the blindness community snorkeling, and every person is different, but a lot of people will have me or one of the Tico guides. So whenever we go on excursion, I'm always there, but then we'll also have a local guide because they're the experts. I've been going to Costa Rica for a long time, but I'm not from there. And so we always work with local guides, which is really lovely. And so myself or another local guide will take maybe someone, for example, in the blindness community, and we'll hold their hand and snorkel. And what I've done in the past is describe to that person like what I was seeing. And I did work with a woman who was in the blindness community, and she could hear things underwater differently than I could. So I got to learn from her as well. But it's really a beautiful, beautiful area. And we'll go on to Cano Island for a little snack at one point. If you're someone who gets seasick, maybe you want to sit on the shoreline a little bit longer, and then we'll go snorkeling again before gathering everybody back up and heading back to Poor Man's Paradise, where we will have lunch as a group. All right, Corcovado National Park, Parque Nacional Corcovado is beautiful. It is stunning. The jungle and the rainforest, they're one and the same. So you could call it a rainforest, you could call it a jungle. It is truly a jungle. We say la selva, if any of you speak Spanish. And where we go, you might see monkeys. There's 4 species of monkeys in Costa Rica. There's the spider monkey, there's the whiteface capuchin monkeys, there's the squirrel monkeys, and there's the howler monkeys. The howler monkeys are the second loudest mammal in the world, second only to the whales. I can't remember if it's a blue whale. You're gonna have to Google check me on what kind of whale it is, but it's a whale is the loudest mammal on Earth. But we don't live underwater, so we don't always hear it. But the howler monkeys, actually, they people thought they heard like roaring, like lions in the jungle. I'm like, well, we don't have lions in Costa Rica. We do have a puma, or jaguar, but the howler monkeys, they make this like but like imagine it louder and scarier sound and you can hear from very far away. And then you see them and it just looks like a guy, like it's just like a monkey. And it's not so scary, but they're pretty cool to see. We might be able to see tapirs, so like the giant, it's kind of like looks like a giant pig, but apparently they're much closely related to a horse. But it looks kind of like a pig with half of an elephant nose, and I call them teddy bear ears. They're pretty cute and they can get giant. So maybe we'll see a tapir sleeping because they are nocturnal. So they're usually sleeping during the day. Maybe we'll get very lucky and see a puma. Very, very lucky. We might see all sorts of insects, cicadas. We might see reptiles. We might see snakes. We might see big crocodiles. All those animals are animals that we could possibly see in Corcovado. Some more beautiful scenery. On the left, just some stunning, I believe that's the Talamanca mountain range that we're looking at there. And on the right-hand side are some waterfalls that we hiked to earlier this year when we were there in January. Just, I feel like Costa Rica is lush. Like you look at these photos and you see green, 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 so much green. This is why I say it looks like Jurassic Park. Like I keep waiting for a T-Rex to come out and say hello. Um, but it's really, really beautiful and very special. So, Mount Chirripo, we actually hike around the Chirripo National Park. Although we don't summit Mount Chirripo itself, it is a really cool place in that it's the tallest mountain in Costa Rica. And when you summit it, if you were to summit it on a clear day, it's one of the only places, if not the only place in the world, where you can see both the Pacific Ocean and the Caribbean at the same time, which is really cool. We won't be summiting that mountain. It's a very, very, very strenuous, like 3-day hike, but we will be hiking around it in the cloud forest, which is really beautiful. On our left, we have a labyrinth. This is still all in the cloud forest. And on the right, you can see, oh, that was such a fun group. I love that group of people. You can see a group and I were sitting in front of a beautiful waterfall. That's one of my favorite waterfalls in Costa Rica. It's in the cloud forest in the Chirripo National Park area. And it's really funny because there is a guy in the photo, I believe. Let me check here. Yes, the guy on the far right, the tallest one in green, he's actually originally from Minnesota, and his name is Tom, and he's the guy that first planned this trip for Wilderness Inquiry. What I think they've been running these trips for 20, 25 years. And yeah, because I think they started in the 90s, which I don't think the 90s should be 25 years ago, but here we are. And that seems impossible to me. But Tom planned these trips and often still will take us hiking when we get to the cloud forest portion. That's his wife, Linda, in front of him. She's Canadian and she'll often go hiking with us as well. And he's really funny. He's like, I can be so grumpy. And I think, you know what? Why did we put a labyrinth in here? Like, just walk in nature and you're going to just find peace in nature. He's like, but you know what? Ever since we put this labyrinth in, every day I see someone slowly walking the labyrinth and finding peace. And he's like, so they proved me wrong. And he always likes to talk about that. And then after we have gone through the jungle and then the ocean and then spending some time in the Talamanca Mountains, then we end at Hacienda Doca, and that is the coffee estate. It's a really cool place. It's a really cool tour. I've been to a couple different coffee tours around the world for this wonderful job, and I feel like Doca is my favorite. We will return back to the San Jose area the night before from the mountains. We'll return to the same hotel that we started our journey in. So we have like some circular bookendage there. And then the final morning, we get up early and we have a lovely breakfast at Hacienda Doca. And then we'll go on a coffee tour. And from there, we'll go to the airport. And this is the best place to get souvenirs. So if you didn't find souvenirs on the way, and one, you might not find a lot of souvenirs on the rest of the trip because a thing I love about WI trips is we're going a little bit off the beaten path. A lot of people who go to the peninsulas on the Pacific side go on the Nicoya Peninsula, which is much bigger and further north, and quite frankly, a lot more populated, a lot more crowded. But we go down to the Osa Peninsula, which is a smaller peninsula a little further south. And so it's off the beaten path, which is why I feel we get to see a lot more animals and we see them in their natural habitat. Like, for example, the monkeys you would see in Corcovado National Park, they just kind of leave you alone. They're there just hanging out, being monkeys, eating cacao beans and spitting out the fruit. And, they're just hanging out in their natural habitat. They don't really interact with humans that much, which is good because we should be separate from them. When you go into these more populated areas further north, the monkeys will come up to you and like demand food and try. I've heard of them picking pockets. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if that really happened. But those monkeys have been a lot more humanized, socialized. They've learned they can get snacks from tourists. And the monkeys that we see have not learned that because the people are better at being like, hey, don't touch the monkeys, don't give them food. So I like that. Because we've gone off the beaten path, we don't have as many like touristy stops for souvenirs, which like that's fine. That's not really the point of a WI trip, but you still want to get that t-shirt. You still want to get that pretty piece of jewelry. You can do it at Doka. It's the last thing we do, and you can get coffee from there. I always bring my dad home coffee. It's like my Christmas gift, coffee from Costa Rica or chocolate. They have all sorts of things there. Clothes, stuffed animals, keychains. If we haven't found it yet, you could probably find it there. And it's a really nice place to end the trip with a little meal together. And after that, then we head to the airport and we hug it out. And someone offers to make a Google Drive so we can dump all our photos in. And then we see you next time. Here's another shot from the coffee farm. That's my now friend Adam. He actually, fun fact, he was on one of my trips in 2023. He's actually the sound guy for Trampled by Turtles. If you know that band, if you like bluegrass, he's their sound guy. So now whenever I go see them in concert, I go hang out with Adam. But there he is on one of my trips, holding up a cahuela, which is the thing that the people that pick the coffee beans wear. So they can pick all day during the picking season. And then the other photo is just a bunch of different beans roasted to different degrees. There's the light roast, the dark roast, and of course the espresso. We've seen some beautiful places. This is from Poor Man's Paradise, this photo. It's a little photo of us like in the bedroom, and you can kind of peek out through the door and you see there's a hammock laying there and a hammock that is hung there that you can lay in, and if you need a little lazy afternoon after our morning excursions. And then you see palm trees. I've definitely, one thing that I really like about this trip is that we'll always have some kind of activity in the morning and then a little bit of free time sometimes in the afternoon to explore the area, or some people just need a nap, honestly, because we're hustling, we're having a lot of fun. Or when we're in the ocean, people are like, can we also just go to the beach? Yes, absolutely. And then in the afternoon, I like to lay in this hammock and read. And I've often seen monkeys at Poor Man's Paradise jumping all over the place and throwing coconuts down from these very trees you can see through the doorway of this photo. Wildlife, it says encounter local wildlife. There's some giant, giant, I call them murder logs. They are crocodiles. These are actually huge crocodiles. They look like the kind of crocodile that like took Captain Hook's arm. They are far away. I believe I took this photo and I zoomed in. We, on our first travel day, we will be heading towards the jungle as we leave Alajuela, which is a suburb of San Jose, And about a third of the way there, we cross a bridge over Rio Tarcoles, the Tarcoles River, and you get to walk across the bridge and look down below, and you'll see all of these crocodiles kind of gathered together, which is unique. Crocodiles don't usually hang out in pods like this, um, but they do here. And I don't think people feed them because they're pretty massive. I think there used to be a tourism thing where people would like try to feed the crocodiles, but then didn't end well. So I think they just really like this area. They've got a lot of food. One time I did see a wounded bird fall in the water and like I know it's a Jaws theme. I know that's a shark, but go with me. We're like all of a sudden this crocodile just like rose up and started swimming towards the bird that was flapping in the river. And like everybody in the bridge started screaming and then like one chomp and it was gone. So nature, you get to see nature be naturey. Here's some more examples of nature. On the right, we see the cappuccino monkey or the white-faced capuchin. In Spanish, we say cappuccino because they say that its white face is because it's got foam on its face, like drinking a cappuccino. In the middle, we have a beautiful toucan with its yellow belly, its kind of light blue feet, and its yellow beak. Kind of looks like the kind of toucan that would sell you cereal. And on the left is my favorite jungle mammal. It's called the coati. Some parts of America Latina call it coatemunde. In Spanish, they actually call it pizote. I love the pizote. I try to describe this to people. It's like if like a raccoon and an anteater had a baby and it was a third different thing. It's like neither of those things, but it's like giving raccoon, it's giving anteater. It looks cuddly. They're so fun. Its little tail is straight up in the air, and the females always move in troops. If we're lucky, we'll be walking through the jungle. This is all from Corcovado National Park. And all of a sudden you'll just like see a troop of them like walking through the forest and their tails stick straight up like that, and it's a way of communicating with one another. And I'm obsessed with them. I might cry. I just feel a lot of feelings when I see them. I love them. If you see me crying because I see them, it's just because I'm so excited. On our left, we have a tiny little green frog, and it's almost looks translucent. And that's actually a frog that we saw at night. And the guide is holding their flashlight underneath the green leaf. And so the light is shining up from below. And you can see the little tiny frog there. And then on the right, that's the Danta. That's the water horse elephant teddy bear pig. That's the tapir. In English, some people say taper. In Spanish, they say tapir if they're saying the Anglified word, but the native word, the Spanish word, I think it's actually an indigenous word, is danta. So I like to call it a danta. And it's wallowing in the mud pit, like pigs basically do. And its eyes are closed because it's sleeping, because it's nocturnal. And if we're lucky, we'll get to see one. Those are really, really special to see. On our left, there's a giant mariposa or butterfly. I think it's truly a butterfly, not a moth, but it's huge. It's beautiful, and it looks like it has kind of like an eye on its wing. And on the right, if we're lucky, if the timing is right, we might see baby turtles being released where we stay at Poor Man's Paradise. So look at like there's basically those are all a bunch of tiny little baby, freshly hatched sea turtles. They kind of look black almost, and they're in a bucket full of sand. And where we stay at Poor Man's Paradise on the Osa Peninsula, there is a turtle hatchery in the area, and they're trying to repopulate the sea turtles, help them kind of come back from being on the endangered species list. And there has been, I think, maybe 2 or 3 different years where we happened to be there when they were letting the baby turtles go back to the ocean. And so a big crowd gathered on the beach, and they roped off part of the beach so that there's no human interaction, and they just let the little sea turtles go. And it was so amazing to watch them just kind of like using evolutionary instincts they've had for millions of years, guide them into the ocean and sometimes the ocean, the tide would come in, the waves would like almost grab one and then not, and almost grab one and not. And people were cheering for the turtles. And but you can't help them. They have to do it on their own. I think the people of Costa Rica are really good at trying to stop tourists from feeding and touching wild animals so they can repopulate and be wild and natural on their own. Beautiful flowers. These flowers have white and yellow on them. They're so beautiful. More flowers. The flowers on the left are a deep red. The one in the middle are like this beautiful magenta and purple. And you can see at the bottom of the photo in the middle, those are fruits that are kind of similar to what we think of as bananas. You can see they almost look like they're tiny magenta bananas, but they're just, I believe, related to it. And then I love that beautiful flower all the way on the right. It's very yonic. It's got like an open mouth. It's like yellow and red and magenta. And these are all photos. I believe I took all these photos just like on my camera phone. So you too can have photos like this on your very own camera phone. And the food is so good. I'm so hungry. I just got out of class, so I'm also just fiending for dinner. But fresh fruit, there's so much fresh fruit. I always tell people like you better be eating so much pineapple you have a canker sore when you leave this trip, or I didn't do my job. But challenge by choice. You don't have to eat that much. But there is like fresh papaya, fresh sandia, which is watermelon, piña, which is pineapple, maracuya, which is passion fruit. I see fresas in there, strawberries. I see the little, I actually don't know what we call them in English. The uvias, the little golden berries, maybe. Thumbs up if you know what those are called in English. But in Spanish, we call them uvias, and they're like very tart and delicious. On the left is me with a coconut. It is one of my greatest joys in the world to drink coconut water out of a coconut with a straw. That's why my smile is so big. I love it. You will see me doing that whenever we can. I'm Ecuadorian, and in Ecuador, we call them cocos, which means coconut. For whatever reason, in Costa Rica, they call them pipa. It still means coconut. Some of them are big, like the one I have in that photo. Some of them are little, like you can fit in the palm of your hand, but all of them are delicious. Coconut water is supposed to be a superfood as well. It's like super hydrating and full of electrolytes. And like we get hot on this trip, we get sweaty on this trip. We do be needing a little pipa fria in our life. Whenever I see them on the roadside, there's a couple guys who like have recognized me through the years. And I'm like, here I am with my busload of gringos, pipa fria for everyone. And everybody gets their little coins out and buys their little coconuts. And it's like, it's so worth the photo op. It's so yummy. And then the next picture on the right is some really yummy shrimp and probably like fresh avocado and it looks like some bread. So really good food. Everywhere we eat has really delicious food. Oh my gosh. Okay. Raise your hand or thumbs up or anything if you've ever heard of ceviche. I don't know if you've heard of ceviche. This is one of my favorite things. If you're feeling daring, it's it could be shrimp, it could be fish, it could be seafood, it could be a mix. But essentially ceviche, which is also really big in Ecuador, it's huge in Peruvian culture. There's mountain ceviche and there's ocean ceviche. We would be eating the ocean kind. It's seafood, shrimp, or fish that is essentially cooked not by heat, but by the acidity of lemon juice and citrus. So this sounds gross when I say it, but it's kind of like a cold fish soup, but it's delicious. I promise it's so delicious. In Peru, it's very culturally the way we will be like, oh, I feel like I'm coming down with something. I should drink more orange juice or take my vitamin C. They're like, oh, like I'm not feeling good. I should eat more ceviche. I need to eat more ceviche because it's so healthy for you and so good. And on the right hand side is one of my favorite things that I eat in Ecuador all the time as well. It's called patacones. You see, there's like a little bowl of refried beans and a little bowl of pico gallo of like salsa. And patacones are basically twice fried plantains. So like take a green plantain, which looks like a big banana, and you smash it and you fry it, and then you smash it again and fry it again, and then they look like that. And they are so delicious. And I can't wait for us all to eat them together. On the left, we've got some tacos, yummy tacos. On the right, we have a little creme brulee. Costa Rica will just have a lot of traditional food and some like lots of rice and beans too. Like we are in Latin America, we will have a lot of rice and beans options. They call it gallo pinto, is what they say in Costa Rica. They call it different things in different parts of Latin America, which is fun. But the places we go, we get a variety of sort of like maybe we'll stop somewhere when we're having a long travel day and it'll be like a little more hole in the wall area, but like very fresh, very healthy, very good. And then sometimes we'll be in a fancier restaurant and have like fancy creme brulee options for dessert. Depends on the day. We kind of get a variety. We eat a spectrum, is what I'd say. And we get a little bit of nightlife. This bar, this is a there's my Trampled by Turtles guy, Adam again. This is a bar at Poor Man's Paradise. Again, the Maya family runs the whole place, and you can have a Costa Rican beer or you can have fresh fruit juice. So you don't ever have to drink alcohol if you don't want to. But if you do, they've got the variety there. Or you can grab like a pina colada and then walk down to the beach and sip your drink, alcoholic or non-alcoholic, and watch the sunset over the ocean. And that's what we had just got back from doing in that photo. And it's dark out in this photo because we just watched the sun go down. All right, so that's a little bit about Costa Rica. Do you have any questions for me or for Shannon or anything you want to revisit? Go ahead and you can take your mute off.
Can you hear me?
I can. Hi, nice to meet you. I'm Cory.
Hi, I'm Susan, and this is my wife, Hope. So,
Hi.
so I have a question about the hiking. Can you give me an idea of how, number one, how long are the hikes and um, how involved are they? How are they rugged? Are they, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely. So we have three sections of the trip. We have the jungle, we have the ocean, which is still hiking through the jungle, and then we have the mountains. So I'll go through each one. The jungle hike, the first one we do, I'd say there's like only a little bit of elevation. It's mostly flat. It's not flat in that there's like many like roots because it's the jungle. There's like tree roots and like vines and stuff, but there's
Hmm.
not much elevation gain. And
Okay.
similarly, when we go to Corcovado National Park on the ocean, which is again still hiking through the jungle, lots of roots and tree roots, but really not much, especially there, not much elevation because for example, in Ecuador, you have the Amazon rainforest and you have the Pacific Ocean. But dividing them, we have the Andes. In Costa
Hmm.
Rica, so then there's like, a giant, giant mountain range dividing the jungle from the ocean. But in Costa Rica, the jungle goes up to the ocean. And so the jungle portions of the hike don't have much elevation gain because they're partially on the beach or they're in the jungle alongside a beach. I'd say what's hard about those is that it's just like really hot and humid. And so you want to be
Okay.
really well hydrated, maybe have some snackies with you. Um,
Okay.
Certain places we walk in, they won't let you bring, there's one place where they don't let you bring any food in, but you can bring reusable bottled water. So like my trusty Nalgene here, but they wouldn't let you bring in like a bottle of Dasani, and that's just because too many tourists littered. But you can bring water. Certain snacks you might be able to bring. It just depends on the hike. And
And
those
distance wise? Corey, and
this
distance wise.
I'd say in all only a few kilometers because although the hike might be a few hours, we're stopping a lot and looking at different things. Like if we see a
Okay.
sloth, the guide will like bust out the telescope and we'll spend times watching the
Oh,
sloth.
cool. Oh, okay. Okay.
The third area is the mountains. That does have some steep elevation guide gain, but that is the one place where we have options. We have the labyrinth I showed you. And that waterfall, that big waterfall and the labyrinth and like the flower guide garden. that's an option if you want to just like relax and sit in that area and kind of walk in that area. Then there's an option for Tom or one of the local guides to take you on a more strenuous hike that has a lot of elevation gain. And then there's sort of a middle ground option. It all just depends on how many people we have and what people want to do. But that one is our hardest hike, and that one has options that you can choose from. And that mileage is pretty low. It's just elevation gain. But you're in the cloud forest and you're no longer in the jungle. So you might feel a slight bit of breathlessness from elevation, but the elevation is not that high itself. It's just if you're hiking and gaining elevation while you're hiking, but it's much cooler. So you're out of the sweat box. So you have that kind of balance. That's a good
Okay.
question.
And then when I was looking at the recommendations as far as what to pack, um, it didn't say anything about a day pack yet. In another area, I did see something about a day pack. So do we bring our own day packs with us, or is that something Wilderness Inquiry provides, or?
You would want to bring something, and we'll kind of look at that packing list. Um, I recommend people bring like a light backpack with them, and I recommend that they have a water bottle with them at all
Mhm.
times, some sunscreen. Some people prefer bug spray. I find that just some longer layers helps with bugs, but it just depends on the season. The bugs aren't too bad usually where we are. Sometimes when you watch the sunset on the beach, it's a little buggy, but and then there's only in Corcovado is that an area where they don't let you bring food in. Otherwise, I'm like, yeah, like grab a couple snacks, throw some granola bars in there. You can have like your camera in there. So I do recommend a small day pack. Some people have just like a fanny pack that has like their phone so they can take pictures and they carry a water bottle. So kind of I do always tell people, you never know, like throw a little rain poncho in there or a raincoat. Um, this is not the rainy season that we go in, but rain still could happen. And if it does, it's usually not a freezing rain because we're in the jungle, but it's always nice to have just in case. But the main thing would be like sunglasses, sunscreen, a layer. It can be quite hot, but some people will have like a layer just to cover up from the sun and the bugs.
Okay, and then would I be able to bring it's called liquid IV. Would I be able to bring that with me?
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Of course. Great questions. Thank you for asking.
Do you have any questions? Nope. We'll mute ourselves again.
Anything else, anyone?
Yeah, I have a question. Filling up
But
water bottles and stuff. They're like refill stations along the way.
yes, excellent question. Everywhere we go, if you can't drink the water, like for example, where we're in the jungle, you can drink the water out of the faucet in your room, that's fine.
Hmm.
But at Poor Man's Paradise, they don't recommend that. And they have 24-hour access to big, big jugs of water, and you can refill at any time. When we're on the hikes, we're usually like in the wilderness. And so I always bring 1 to 2 water bottles. I tend to like to bring 2 water bottles for myself because I'm a thirsty girl and hydration is happiness. I do recommend that people bring 2 kind of Nalgene sized water bottles. A Nalgene is usually about a liter. Um, I recommend at least, I think we should make it mandatory, at least 1 water bottle that's at least a liter size or, 2 half-liter size. But I tend to bring 2 of these and throw them in my backpack um, just in case, especially when we're like in Corcovado National Park. Like it just gets really hot and it is muggy, it is humid. That's a great question.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
I have a question. How many people are on the January 21st trip?
Oh, Shannon.
Yeah, right now we have 4 folks booked on that one. So I don't have the registration right in front of me. So I believe that means we have at least 4 spots left. And then that means we have 8 spots left on the first week in January trip.
So if you don't have enough people, would you cancel that?
Yes, but we are expecting to reach the minimum.
What's the minimum?
Is 5.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, if you're looking to definitely guarantee yourself the trip, that second week, would guarantee that green light that will run that trip.
Okay. We are registered for that one.
Yeah, great.
Tell all your friends, the more the merrier.
Yeah, I will be
Let's get
I'll be sharing this webinar with everybody. So yeah, feel free to share with friends, family, and encourage folks to join.
The other thing that is a little bit confusing is the whole immunizations requirement. And is Costa Rica requiring updated COVID vaccines?
I'd have to look into that. I don't think so. Do you know, Shannon?
We can look into that and follow up. Yep.
Okay, yeah, because there's some controversy about it, and some people don't mind getting it, and other people really don't want to get it because of whatever reason. But anyway,
I don't believe Costa Rica is currently requiring that. We do recommend that people, when they fly, like try to be cautious, like maybe wear a mask on the plane or something like that. But there's no
yeah,
there's no, I think, like set thing from Costa Rica itself.
okay, okay. And then the whole idea with malaria, and there was a whole list I was reading on the website. It's kind of up in the air. What are the recommendations, if any?
I have not encountered people taking medications for malaria.
Okay.
Again, I'd have to double check the current what it says about malaria in the area, but I have not taken malaria medication to go on these trips before.
Okay.
But your body, your choice. You get to do what you want.
Yeah, we can follow up with the most up-to-date vaccination recommendations.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? It can be logistical or just fun requests from Corey about the trip.
So the zip line, what's the elevation of the zip line?
That I would have to Google, but the views are awesome. I actually don't know the elevation. We'll put that on our list of things to specifically look into.
If you can't do the zip line, is there an alternative that you could do?
I'm sure we could look into that for sure. If you work with Shannon or our trip director Anne ahead of time,
Okay.
we did work that out for someone last year.
Okay.
Yeah, we're very dedicated to making it happen.
Oh, I know. I went to Africa. We went to Africa with Wilderness, so we know.
That's amazing. Take me next time.
It was a long time ago.
Hey.
I think that's it.
Well, you can always follow up with questions for me. I've emailed all of you. I will email you again. You won't
Okay.
be able to get me out of your inbox. So you can reach me at any time. My phone number is also in my email. So again, these are the dates that we have available. If you're looking to guarantee that green light trip, it's that January 21st through the 30th. We're only one person away from that minimum. Otherwise, we're pretty sure we'll be able to fill that first January 9th to the 18th as well. We have lots of interest. So yeah,
Cool.
thank you
And
all.
truly, this is one of my favorite trips that Wilderness Inquiry runs. Like, I feel really lucky to have been guiding for them, since 2008. Gosh, that's a really long time now. This is one of my favorite things, and I was like, put me on those trips for the rest of my life. I'm in. It's just wonderful, and I think the person who designed these trips so long ago has such a beautiful flow of like getting into like the jungle, and then like, oh, now we're on this tropical paradise beach and we're in the ocean, and like, oh, just when you think you can't sweat anymore and your whole body is one big chafe, now we're in the mountains and it's
Yeah.
a little cooler. And yeah, and what I really love is that I think WI does a great job of either taking us to places where it's like owned by Ticos, like by Costa Rican people, or if not owned by them directly, like run by them, and is like, I believe, very like ethical and environmental and more eco-focused than just like churning out luxury tourism. And that flows with my values and that's WI's values. And so I really, really like that.
That's why we chose them for Kenya. It was wonderful.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is Andy still there?
No, he left.
Oh,
Well,
But we
thank
see him still every once in a while.
Oh,
do
really?
you?
Yeah, Andy
We-
Walls, he was my first boss at WI.
Oh my God.
We were actually the group that started the Canby School Project.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Have you heard about that? Yeah.
I've heard of it, but I've not been there.
Yeah.
Do you know if Muthoga is still working with Wilderness?
I think so. Do you know? I know what the Natus is. Do you know,
Yeah,
Shannon?
Donatus is still our main contact over there. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
That was wonderful.
That was a great trip.
That was a great trip.
Yeah. Sneak peek for everybody else. If you're looking for, yeah, an African adventure, we offer that as well. So
Oh, we always do. We always say if you want to
Yeah.
definitely do WI because it's nothing like it. And like you said, you stay in places that are not the commercial, where it's all touristy and stuff. I mean, in Africa, we stayed in a boma, we stayed in hostels, we shopped in the market. It was all about the culture, and it was a
Yeah.
wonderful experience. Truly
Cool.
was. Yeah.
that's beautiful. Thank you for staying a part of the organization for so many years.
We love it.
Amazing. All right. Well, thank you everybody for joining us. Thank you again to Cory
you.
for sharing on the expertise, and hope everyone has a great night.